Alrighty, y'all. Welcome back to the show. Now, today's topic is something actually super interesting. I've always wondered and I've never sought out the answer to. And why do the British drive on the left? Now, of course, the Brits aren't the only to do this. But I would say the majority of the world drives on the right, which is indeed right. It's correct. No, but the British drive on the left. Let me see. I probably don't know every country that drives on the left. I know Australia drives on the left. Japan, I think. Yeah, Japan drives on the left. I'm sure there's a few others, but I've always wondered. It's pretty weird, right? Like, I've covered Australia a lot on this channel. I'm like, it's so weird because they have a lot of similarities to us in the U.S. as in car culture, right? They had some really cool sports cars and muscle cars and, some common denominators with their cars, like Holden and of course, GM products here. But then I always thought it's so weird. Like, why do they have right-hand drive and drive on the left in Australia? It's just the one thing that was way different when I learned about their car culture versus ours. So in my head, it's not that that's wrong or that we're wrong. It's more of just like, why, right? Like there's got to be a reason. Why doesn't everyone just drive the same worldwide? So if you travel, it's more, universal. It's more fluid. I don't know. We're going to learn that today. I think it's pretty interesting. This could be a great video for comments. So let me know your thoughts down below on why you think this is the case and maybe if there's a side you prefer, right? I've never driven a right-hand drive car. I would really like to just to feel it. I think it'd be kind of interesting. I will say, as someone who does enjoy left-hand drive cars and drives on the right side of the road here in the U.S., my only experience is in video games. Now, in some racing games, I don't know how to explain it. I do admit that right-hand drive cars in racing games, I almost feel like I had a better visual. So I tested it one time long ago. I should do that in a video sometime in the future. Was getting better lap times, I feel like, in right-hand drive versions of the car when you could switch it in some older video games. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know. I'll admit it. It's kind of weird. But let's try this video out. This is why do the British drive on the left. Please watch this whole video and browse their channel with a link down below. This is from a channel called Interesting Engineering. Let's waste no more time. Here we go.
If you've ever visited the UK, it is hard to miss the fact that they drive on the left. This can be quite disorienting, as around 65% of the world drives on the right.
So it is majority drive on the right. There you go. And that is my one, it's not a fear, but that would be my one, I guess, concern, traveling to, like he said, like the UK, traveling to Australia. It would be fun to drive the right-hand drive car because it'd be different and I'm a car guy, so I'd enjoy that. What wouldn't be fun is, driving on the left side of the road because at the end of the day, I want to follow the rules. I don't want to get in a crash. I don't want to cause any hiccups for anyone. And that even if you're a really good driver, if you go somewhere that has the opposite road rules going on, the opposite side of the road, I think it can be pretty disorienting and freaky at first because your muscle memory, your brain, everything is trained for the other way. And I think that could be quite, a little bit dangerous at times.
Have you ever wondered why this is? Why did the UK and most of its former colonies choose to drive on the left?
Yeah, why?
The answer is a rather long and complicated one.
Of course.
Let us explain. For starters, it should be noted that the practice of driving on the left even predates cars.
Really? Okay.
It all started in the Middle Ages, and perhaps even further back to in ancient Greece and Rome. During those times, there was always the risk of being attacked while traveling. Since most people are right-handed, they tended to travel on the left to keep their sword-fighting hand free in case of attack.
Are you serious that this can be traced back to that? That's pretty bizarre. I would have never thought of that. In that context, it makes sense. Generally, the majority of the population is usually right-handed. I think that's safe to say. And I guess that makes sense. If you're traveling back then, on a horse and, you got your sword on you just in case you get attacked because that was a crazy lifestyle back then. I guess you'd want your strong hand to the right? So you're on the left side of the road. If someone comes the other way and decides to get fancy with you,
swordsmen
you're ready.
Preferred to keep to the left, so their right arm would be nearer to an opponent. This also reduced the chance of the scabbard hitting other people. It was also safer to mount and dismount towards the side of the road rather than in the middle of traffic. So how did people ever switch to the right? Well, it turns out Napoleon preferred to ride on the right, and so did Hitler. In fact, Hitler forced Czechoslovakia and Austria to switch to right-hand driving.
Wow.
However, since
Did not know
Britain
that.
resisted both Napoleon and Hitler, the country never switched to the right.
Okay.
One country that did not have to make the switch, however, was America.
Right.
Although the U.S. likely started out riding on the left, as in England, the country has been driving on the right side of the road since colonial times.
That's
At
wild.
that time, the country saw the use of large wagons that were drawn by several pairs of horses.
Right.
These wagons had no driver's seat, and the driver sat on the horse at the rear left. Driving to the right meant the driver could see oncoming traffic,
Right.
and it also made it less likely they would steer into a ditch until 1792 and 1804, respectively, that Pennsylvania and New York made it official by regulating it. Many
Okay.
states then followed their example, but the practice was cemented when Henry Ford put the Model T's steering wheel on the left-hand side of the car.
Right.
The mass production of affordable cars then saw many countries change their rules of the road.
Wow, okay.
Meanwhile, in the UK,
So maybe up until, late 1800s, early 1900s, then the car starts coming into society, right? It might have been more up for grabs. It just depends. Even in the U.S., there could have been places where maybe we were driving on the left as well. Some places on the right could have been just kind of all over the place, and probably same for other countries as well. Okay, that's interesting. So we have like kind of the medieval beginnings, which I guess at that time, which is totally different than nowadays, made sense. Now, then you have some political aspects to it, of course, with the, World War II aspect. The obvious one was the invention of mass-producing cars where they were going to be more normal in traffic around cities around the world. So
massive wagons of the U.S. weren't popular. Instead, vehicles in Britain were smaller and
Right.
had seats for the driver to sit on behind the horses.
I'd say that's still true today, right? I think America usually still has, a lot of bigger vehicles, and a lot of Europe, including Britain, would be, on average, smaller vehicles.
As most people are right-handed, the driver would sit to the right of the seat in order to keep his whip hand free. This ensured that people kept driving to the left.
Right.
In addition, 18th century London saw the introduction of a traffic law to make all vehicles on London Bridge keep to the left. This was
Wow.
in an effort to reduce collisions. The rule was then incorporated into the Highway Act of 1835 and was later adopted throughout the UK,
Right,
making
okay.
left-hand driving mandatory in Britain. The 20th
Dude,
century...
these old vehicles of old cars and kids in the road are crazy. There's no order to this at all like there is nowadays. Although, I mean, the roads could be kind of the Wild West out there nowadays, too, at least here in the States. But not quite like this, thankfully. I mean, look at these cars are just kind of all over, like in different sides of the road. There's kids literally kicking the
mandatory
ball,
in Britain.
like literally playing soccer or football right in the street.
The 20th century
Holy smokes, what a mess.
saw an attempt to harmonize road laws in Europe, leading to a shift in right-hand driving. But that didn't affect the UK.
Okay.
Today, there are around 78 countries and territories that drive on the left.
Wow. I mean, that's still a lot. 78, I only named, 3? So there's clearly a lot I don't even know about. It's just one of those things where I don't think it's going to change much. I think some places will always drive on the left and some places will always drive on the right. And there's different reasons, I guess. It's kind of hard to narrow down to one, obvious reason, right? Because basically it just comes down to different places at one time or another might have experienced both sides. And eventually they just evolved differently, right? So here in the U.S., we just evolved differently on the side we drive versus how they evolved in London and in the British territories as a whole, right? So I guess we'll just have to learn when you travel, you just got to be prepared to drive on either side, right? And yeah, like I said, that would be my one thing because obviously we do plan on, I would love to travel to tons of different places. And for example, landing in Australia or landing in the UK, it would just be on my mind a little bit. I want to drive good. I want to get places safely. It would be a little bit concerning driving on the other side just because it's so different than what you're used to. All your habits and muscle memories and stuff you got to fight against. So I think that'd be a little hard. If you want to share your experiences in the comments, regardless of what side you're used to driving on, when you went to a place where you had to drive on the other side, how was it? Did it turn out fine? Was it easier adjustment than you thought? Or did you have some freaky near misses or maybe even got into a fender bender or something? Please throw a like on there if you did enjoy this. Subscribe to be part of this amazing community. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. And until next time, y'all, stay safe out there no matter what side of the road you're on. Don't play football on the street. And yeah, I'll catch you later.